But yeah, so our second panel of the day is going to be our community and culture panel, led by the one and only Ash Green of Empower PEI. So we have lots of amazing folks on this one today. So we have Julia Campbell, who's the owner and operator of JEMS Boutique, and also the COO of North Shore Group. We have Chef Ilona Daniel, who is a chef and hospitality instructor at Holland College and a freelance food writer. We have Rachael Sonola, who is the founder of Main Experience, which is a startup zone company. We have Hilary Wood, who's the founder of Bliss Tattoo and also works for Fresh Start Fromage, which is another one of our companies. And finally, we have Tamara Steele, who's the president of the Black Cultural Society and also an administrative assistant at the Confederation Center of the Arts, which it looks like she's there right now because her backdrop is way nicer than all of ours. But yeah, without further ado, I'll let Ash Green take it away. She's the one and only mother of Empower, as we call her in PEI. She runs Empower PEI, which is kind of like an online digital networking group via Facebook in Charlottetown. She can chat a bit more about that. But she's also a freelance graphic designer and a founder of the company Local Legends, which went through the startup zone too. So we're really happy to have her in the community, and I'm really thankful for her to be bringing all these amazing folks together today. So I'm gonna let her take it away. And just like always, if you have any questions, send them through the chat, but this is gonna be a good one.
Well, that was just too sweet. Thank you so much, Rachel. Yeah, Empower PEI well, it started out as a Facebook group, and now we're a nonprofit, and we're working our way towards helping as many business owners as we can on the island, and it's been a wonderful ride. But yeah, today we're going to talk a bit about community and culture. Creating community and culture within your business or industry or organization is essential to enjoying your career and attracting employees or board members, customers and followers who are invested in their role. We're going to talk about how you can create a community within your organization that employees want to brag about being a part of, and one that minimizes your turnover rates. This way you'll be spending less time training new hires and more time loving what you do. We'll also talk about community over competition, hashtag, that movement, and how to lift each other up in your industry and recognize partnerships and opportunities instead of undercutting and competing for sales, attention, likes, and whatnot. So we have a pretty awesome group of people here who come from all kinds of different communities, which is super exciting. So I'll start with the first question. Just wondering, what is your favorite part about the communities that you are a part of, whether it be in the business community here at Startup Zone, an organization like the Black Cultural Society or Veg PEI, or an entire industry like the beauty industry or culinary? And I'll start with Ilona. And if you guys want to come off mute and chime in whenever and just have like an organic conversation and enjoy yourselves, that would be awesome. Oh, we can't hear you, Ilona. It may be because your headphones, I'm not sure.
Oh no.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, yay, okay.
I'm glad we started with you.
All right, so we got that out of the way. I had to switch from my audio. Anyway, first of all, hi everyone. This is super exciting to be here today. I've been so inspired so far this morning, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. My favorite part about being part of the culinary community is that there's a powerful narrative innately entwined in what we do as whether it's chefs, as writers working in this industry, is that there's the power of the narrative. And we talk about that through food primarily, and quite often we're able to share our experiences through that simple thing that we all share, that we all need to eat. And those narratives talk about where we come from, where we hope to go, our vulnerabilities, and our hopes. And I think regardless of the community you belong to or whatever sector you're hoping to enrich a community, the important piece of lived experience and narrative is something that is worth drilling down on, because every lens that we experience this world is a valuable piece in enriching it. So When we look at my food community that I'm a part of, there are so many stories that I learn from, and I hope that I can also add some depth in that as well.
Food is an amazing tool for bringing people together. You said we all need to eat.
Yeah.
A large part of people's cultural backgrounds as well, and something that they can share with each other. Yeah, very.
Yeah, it breaks down a lot of barriers.
Yeah. Hilary has some experience with food bringing people together too as part of Veg PEI. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Hilary?
Yeah, so when I was a part of the group that was forming Veg PEI initially a few years ago, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew there was this community on PEI, but everyone was kind of dispersed and there was no way to kind of bring everyone together. And so I remember I held my first vegan potluck and I was like, yeah, my friends and my family are gonna come. It'll maybe like 20 people if I'm lucky. And then 80 people walked through the door and I was blown away. I was so nervous then, but it was amazing. And I was like, okay, like this is really special and this really needs to stay. And this is obviously something that the island wants and needs. So I'm happy to kind of facilitate that. And when it comes to tattooing as well, I'm fairly new to the industry. I've only been tattooing for about a year now, but there are so many problems in the tattoo industry and community as a whole. And so since I've kind of been inserted in it, I've been finding all of these really, really cool, radical tattoo artists, especially in North America, the ones that I have found anyway, who are just really trying to change the way that tattooing is done from the perspective of client care, and just creating a safer place for folks to get tattooed. So I think the kind of like the people rattling the cages of the industry I'm in is what is really special to me in that community right now.
I've definitely seen a switch in the atmospheres of tattoo studios over the past even 5-10 years, right? Maybe even less. But it's much more approachable. And I feel like that community or that culture coming into that environment is so important to break down barriers and make people comfortable, right?
Big time, yeah. There's a hierarchy I find between a tattoo artist and a client, and there shouldn't be. Like, a lot of clients think like, well, you're the expert, you know better, but in reality, like, it's your body, it's your experience, it's the art that's going on your body forever. So the client needs to have so much more autonomy and choice in the process and the experience. And so that flip of the script really needs to happen. And I think it's slowly getting there, which is exciting.
That's awesome. Tamara, what is your favorite part about the communities that you're a part of?
My favorite part about the community that I'm a part of working with Black Cultural Society really is the community. Having moved here in 1999, I moved here alone without any family. I was very young, and just going years and years and years, going like almost 2 decades without having family here, without having connection to anyone who looks like me, without going back to Nova Scotia, it was affecting, and it didn't, like, it took me a long time, I think, to realize that. But then in the last few years, since I took over the society, really getting to know that there's actually a lot of people that were in the same boat and that were feeling the same way. So we come together and we talk and we realize we're having the same experiences or similar experiences. And where one of the phrases that came out of Black History Month this year was suffering in isolation. Like, we don't need to experience these things in isolation because we can just come together and be a community and be a family, have that family vibe together for a lot of us who don't have families here with us. So I think and building community is our hashtag. It's the hashtag we use on pretty much everything we do, and it's really the main focus that drives everything that we do. So I think that building community aspect is really my favorite part about being in this community.
Yeah, I could definitely, like at the March, feel that it was family. Yeah, family vibes big time. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. Rachel, how about you?
So my favorite part of the communities that I'm part of, well, just stealing from what Tamara has said as well, is just the support. But like not just also from the BLM movement and all of that, it's the whole PEI community as well. Like it was really motivating to just see people like realizing what you do and actually instantly just supporting it and being like, oh, I like what you do and I think people should know about this. That was, I think that's what every business needs, is just that team of people who cheer you on and they're like, you're doing awesome and we love this and we support you. So that support, it's still going on. I'm still living in it. So yeah, it's my favorite part. So yeah.
The PEI business community is so unique in that way that you can just come in with a new product and get that kind of support right out the gate, because so many people know each other and we're all following the same accounts online even, and so we're also connected in that way. It's super cool. I feel like you've experienced this a lot lately, Julia, especially with COVID and all the changes that you had to make. What was your favorite part about your community during that experience?
Yeah, I'd have to say, I mean, I have so many favorite parts, becoming more educated and collaboration with other folks in different communities. But for me, it's been the person to person. And I didn't realize that until COVID happened. But there's a natural high and energy that I get in collaborating with people face to face or person to person. Being able to do things online is amazing, and having all these options that have had to come out of COVID, and were obviously there before, but have become more relevant. But nothing to me beats person to person, face to face. And I'm just so grateful that at least here on PEI, we've been able to get some of that back. We reopened our retail stores during phase 2, and I had no idea I was going to be as excited as I was. I mean, I was just like a kid on Christmas Day times a million. And then like seeing people, and it just allowed me to realize too that that's the part of my business and the communities within my business that I love the most, is being able to see and communicate with people.
Yeah, and you connect so well. So I'll go right into the next question. What are some techniques that you use to engage people when things change so much, to participate in, while engaging with you online during COVID? I know it was such a different experience right out the gate. Was there any techniques that you found new to engage people, or would you bring something out that you'd been doing all along, it just did better because people were captive?
Yeah. Is it still me?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I mean, my motto, it probably switched over 2 or 3 years ago, and just that if you want to show people personally through your business, through your community, if you want to show people who you are, you have to show people who you are. And I mean, how do we do that? You do it through obviously social media platforms. You do it through events and in person, being able to meet people in person. And I think for the social media aspect, I understand that, I'm an extrovert, been kind of somewhat performing my whole life, a lot of it on a very low key scale, but people often say to me, you're so comfortable, it looks so easy for you. It hasn't been easy for me, but what I would say to somebody who does struggle a lot more with being able to show who you are, it's the only way. No one else can talk about you or your business or what you do better than you. So I would say to somebody, and what I've said to people before who are struggling or, get a lot of anxiety in bigger crowds or get anxiety going live, find like a calm, quiet place, whether that's at your home or someplace within your workspace. Technology is so amazing right now. You can, like, the lights can be on and the camera can be on, but nobody can be there. And find a space like that to really be able to showcase what you do and get your messaging across. Nobody's going to do that for you. Nothing happens overnight and nothing comes for free. So I think certainly from a brick and mortar perspective, it's, you know, a big part of our business. We absolutely had to make some shifts and focus more on the digital ways that we could reach our audience.
Just wondering, in general, what are some techniques that you guys use to engage others to participate in partnerships, for example, or to join your board? How do you encourage people to choose to become a part of your particular industry or group? Tamara, could you lend some insight?
I can't. We're in this incredible transition stage right now where when the society was incorporated in 2016, it was incorporated with the mandate to raise awareness of Black culture. And we're in this transition phase where we're literally in the middle of a massive strategic planning process, and we're developing this foundation and this infrastructure for our organization, and we're changing our organizational status, and there's so many things happening behind the scenes. And part of that is really is going to be, gaining membership and training people to be on the board and increasing our board membership. And all of that is in the works. And if you ask me this question next year, I will have a really dope answer. But right now, I think we're just in this kind of magic process. We're in the middle of this magic process where we're just figuring all of this out. So nothing as far as how we've communicated with people has changed so far. We're getting a website. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Where all of the information for programs that we're developing you'll be able to find them there easily. But I mean, typically since we started, we've just been communicating through social media, and that really hasn't changed. We've had more collaborations with other organizations in the last year, especially since COVID. We've done a number of collaborations, getting projects out and off the ground and programming out to the public. But how we communicate hasn't really changed, and what we do and how we draw people in will change in the future. So I'm actually interested to hear what everyone else has to say about that.
I feel like Empower PEI is very much in the same position where we've just become a nonprofit. We're just trying to figure out what membership even looks like. But the fact that you're actually making a strategic plan is a huge part of what your technique will be and will shape everything moving forward. I think that's super important and a really valuable step that you're taking, for sure. Let's see, what do you think is the most important aspect of creating a community that people can be proud to be a part of? Rachael, can you lend some insight?
Absolutely. So for me, the most important thing would be authenticity. Like, people want to follow a brand, a person, a business that is true to itself, true to its core values, and is consistent with showing those values. I mean, I want to be a part of a community that would stick to that. I don't want to be surprised and be like, oh, what are you talking about now? But because if you're following a journey, you should know where it's heading and not just be surprised at the end. So for me, that's very important for any community, any brand, any person to have that, especially if you're bringing that to people. Yeah.
That's knowing what your values are and other people knowing where things are.
Exactly.
Hilary, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think for any community, one of the most important things is to make sure that there are multiple voices at the table, not just sitting there, but being lifted up, being heard, and have the focus be on, their positions from their backgrounds and their experiences. If you don't have all sorts of different voices at the table, you're not going to have a well-rounded view. And it does not matter what part of the community it is, whether it's food or tattooing or anything like that, all those voices have to be represented in an authentic way, for sure.
That's awesome. Building out a well-rounded board or leadership is super important. Anyone else have anything to add to that one? What do you think the most important aspects are?
Yes, I'd like to add a little point.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's important when we talk about building community, one of the tenets of building community is that we're endeavoring to understand other people, and in turn that we are also allowing other people to know us. And that is something that doesn't happen overnight, and it's built up, you know, we're building that foundation brick by brick. And that cement is as Rachael mentioned, authenticity. There needs to be trust, inclusion, and most importantly, vulnerability. We want to be able to share what our hopes are, whether those hopes, you know, are maybe are pie in the sky, but maybe let's talk about them and see how we can bring them from that dream to reality, and maybe even some of our hesitations and our fears. And a lot of times we're seeking to build a community, or as an entrepreneur, we are absolutely, there's so many thoughts running through our minds at all times. Am I crazy? Is this silly? Are people going to resonate? And at the end of the day, there's nothing to be lost by putting your voice out there. The world needs to experience your voice. And as Julia said, no one's going to do that for you. And it's essential that you put it out there. And if it doesn't stick, that's okay. You've learned and grown from that experience. And when we talk about community, it's a series of small choices and everyday actions.
Definitely. I know just from my experience, often I ask myself, like, who am I to be even doing this?
Yeah.
But I also feel like if I wasn't doing it, obviously it wouldn't exist. And I don't want to, like, that's sad to me. So, so I feel like it's the same thing with the groups and communities that you guys are a part of.
Mm-hmm.
The value that you're adding to other people's lives is immense. And you may not realize it, and sometimes you may have imposter syndrome, but what you're doing is so valuable to so many people, for sure.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome is something we all experience it. So we're not unique and alone in that. And, you know, we just kind of, you know, walk through it, move through it.
Yeah.
That's so true, Ilona. I resonate with everything that you said. And Rachael, especially with the authenticity piece, when we were doing an exercise in our strategic planning where we're coming up with words that describe our values and our goals and where we want to get. And authenticity came up in every activity. And I think all of us brought that word every time. So it's nice to see that we're all on the same page working on that. But one thing I wanted to mention, and not to bring the conversation down, but in this, when I'm thinking about building community, I'm thinking we're talking about how much support we get, but the other side of that, especially in the work that I do, is that it's not always a positive support from people. We get lots of negative comments and feedback and hateful messages, but I think it's just for perspective, it's really important to know that well, like one thing that I said recently in a meeting was, no matter what we do, someone's going to be upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just taking that in, like Ilona said, taking it in stride and walking through it. And that really doesn't matter as long as that's the smaller percentage of opinion, I think. And as long as we remember that we're being authentic and we're representing the larger community, I think that it's something to keep in mind, but it's not really anything to focus on.
And Tamara, to tack onto that as well, I'm sure everyone has either read Brene Brown's books or have watched the TED Talk, but if people are not willing to put themselves out there the way that you do it every single day, then there's no acceptable reason to internalize that negativity.
Exactly.
That's a brave choice to put yourself and to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to create community. So we got to do it every day.
Yeah.
I think it's becoming more and more acceptable to also be vulnerable in public and to let people know when things aren't going well. Like there used to be more, and it's still there, but there used to be more of a trend to put on a smiling face and pretend that those negative comments don't happen. But I think it is important to address them, whether it be through like a public post or whatnot, just saying like, this is the feedback that we've been getting, this is how we're dealing with it. I think people are much more apt to share those negative experiences now, and I think it's making everyone stronger. Because like I wouldn't know necessarily that you were getting those particular comments, but if you're putting it out there, letting people know and showing how either you're not letting it affect you and you're moving forward strongly, or how things are changing because of those comments, I think that's super valuable. Yeah. Anything anyone wants to add to that?
Yeah, actually. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead. Did you have something to say?
No, you're good.
Okay, I just wanted to say, following up on the whole community aspect, and I was thinking about it last night, and to me it can be like a massive snowball effect. And just speaking from the viewpoint of a white privileged woman, being able to have conversations, and actually within this group, Rachael reached out to me over a year ago and let me know that she wasn't being seen or represented, and that she liked coming to our store. We're talking about JEMS Boutique. And through that, through her bravery, and I mean, just, it was so amazing that she had the courage to write me. Thank you, Rachael. And through that, my personal community and my business community grew. And then because it grew and I gained culture, I was then able to show that to other people within my community. And it's like one big circle. And especially for people of privilege to be able to, I guess what I'm trying to say is that through building my community and becoming more cultured about the communities that are relevant here to my personal life and my direct business, it's about stepping up and recognizing what it is, not to just say something or post something, but actually act on what that means to be an ally or to be able to support communities that are new to your culture.
I think JEMS has been a great example to a lot of island businesses of how to change. Yeah, I think we've learned a lot through watching the growth at JEMS.
Yes, and I'm not by any means saying that we are perfect on it, but
we all have learning to do.
Right, yeah. Just making the effort or starting somewhere, right?
Yeah, I actually first time I ever messaged Rachael was because of that interview. Yeah, and I told her that I had watched it and how great I thought it was, and so it was really nice to be able to connect with her, even though it was just on through Instagram at the time, through Empower PEI. I feel like that connection has grown, and yeah, as things change and get better, yeah, I just hope for more connections on the island and to just close all those gaps and bring everybody closer together. I think will be really good. What's an example of when having a strong community directly benefited or perhaps caused issues for your business, organization, or industry? So feel free to share an experience that wasn't ideal if it resulted in a valuable lesson, because these experiences are equally important. I'll leave it open to anyone who wants to jump in, because I know that one's difficult.
I can jump on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I belong to a few different communities. I sit on the board of directors for TIPI. I'm on the Writers Guild, and I'm also an educator at the Culinary Institute along with my own business. Amazing. So there's a lot of balls in the air to try to, but through it, I think what's important is that you want to have a call to action that is an important way for others to participate and engage. And one of the overarching themes that I have seen in every endeavor and part of my life is that of mental health. And so when we look at the culinary industry, we have seen over the years in a lot more high profile manner, the horrendous impact that mental health and how it plays out in our industry. And by extension, we see that in so many different arenas of life. So part of the calls to action that I've done in each of those roles has been, let's find something that we can be united behind. And there's no one whose life hasn't been touched by mental health. When Anthony Bourdain passed away, through his mental health adversities, I knew that that was a really polarizing and large moment for us to remove some taboo, to come together as a community. And so with the Chefs Association, I spearheaded this Bourdain Day, and there was a lot of different people involved. We had our school counselor who came to speak. We had the Mental Health Association, as well as other chefs in the industry talking about how mental health impacts their career and their life. And what was really powerful is that a lot of students came. And so when we talk about mental health, I include that in my curriculum, and that so that we are a community, and that we feel we have good days, we have bad days. And so for me, that was powerful and has been part of my mantra, talking about mental health and how when we are community, that we are better equipped to deal with the adversities in that manner.
Yeah, I do think that there's been more awareness around mental health within the culinary industry in recent years. I feel like there's a lifestyle that comes with working in kitchens frequently, and it's nice that there's been some light spread on that and help being offered for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone else? Hilary, do you have an example for us?
I think with, maybe this is a little broad, but I think with being a part of the vegan community, there's, of course, a huge stereotype that comes with the label of vegan. And what I've tried to do with Veg PEI is to really normalize being vegan or eating plant-based or being interested in learning more about plant-based eating. There are obviously some extremely problematic vegans in the community at large, and like there isn't any community really. But that word just really makes people recoil, and so having to really break down those walls and try to kind of push through to people, but not in an aggressive or a negative way. Like all of our events and all of our messaging is all positive, welcoming, inclusive, because, you know, we want everyone to feel welcome if they're kind of like their interest is piqued over something they heard, or, you know, KFC's new plant-based thing. Oh, I wonder what that is. Like, we want people to be able to feel comfortable coming to an event, a potluck, and just, you know, no matter what their diet is, and just be able to kind of share an experience and not feel defensive about what their lifestyle choice is. So yeah, I think kind of breaking down that barrier and normalizing this lifestyle has been a bit of a challenge, but I think it's helped shape a really cool community in PEI, and I think that people do have a good image of Veg PEI, so I think we've done a good job in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a large part of community is for its members to be able to just be themselves, show up, and without judgment, they're just all of the same mind, right? And they have there's a common goal there. You always have something to talk about. There's such, like, having a sense of community is such a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I love the Veg PEI group. It's so nice. Yeah, in the KFC plant-based burger, there's definitely a line between people loving or hating even the idea of KFC offering such a thing. But
here's vegans, like some vegans hate it. They're like, I don't want to support KFC, but it's like, I don't know. So
well, stepping stones towards, plant-based meals, and
I agree.
That's wonderful.
You know, it's been great, Hilary. We've had Jelaine come to I've had her many times come to the school. We have a conversation prior to arriving and say, when you hear the word vegan cheese, what do you think? And so we have a lot of preconceived notions. And by the end of meeting Julian and then tasting the incredible fromage, everyone's just like, what?
Yeah, that's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we have our booth at the farmer's market and it says, you know, ridiculously good vegan cheese on it, and people just walk by and they're like, no thanks. And we're just like, try some, and they try it and then they're like, whoa, like this is amazing. This is incredible. So it's really cool. Yeah.
It's amazing what language can do, right? Because if you just called that like a cheesy spread, you know what I mean? Or cheese flavored spread, something to that effect, everyone would be like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyone else have an example of when a strong community directly benefited or perhaps didn't?
I think our obvious example would be the march. There was some controversy that happened before the march. We were going to do a march, but we would have done it a little bit later than it happened, and we were kind of rushed into it based on the unfortunate situation that happened before. And if anyone's on Facebook and caught that, that was really something. But I think the negative feedback that was coming from that was that we weren't doing anything and nobody was doing anything, and there was this this feeling that amongst when we met with the community, we had the Black community together and we talked about it, and there was this huge feeling that we were feeling pressured to grieve in public and pressured to by the original organizers of the march, being pressured to take our feelings public, and when we weren't ready, we were still grieving as a community. But we had to step up in that moment, and that was just a lot of, I think the best thing, our best tool for mitigating these situations is conversation, opening a dialogue, and compassion. I always say that I lead with compassion, and I try my hardest to do that, and I think as a team we try to do that. So it was really about speaking to this person, letting this person know how they were making our community feel. And it gets really, I think some people get really stuck in their own personal feelings or in their ego maybe, of wanting to feel like a good person and like they're doing something helpful, when what they're doing was really incredibly harmful and really just was going against the grain of the goal that they were trying to achieve. But through conversation and compassion and open dialogue, we handled it, and we were able to come together as a community. We had a lot of support from BIPOC Usher and just a lot of people that we met really through the through the process of organizing that march. And well, it was a success, if I do say so myself.
It really was. It really was. Yeah, it really was. It was very moving. I think even just the fact that Black Cultural Society and BIPOC Usher existed to take leadership, even though it started out with this other group on Facebook. I think the fact that you were able to take over and do something so beautiful was like, it showed how like wonderful it was that the group already existed. Because if you said that the group was only formed in 2016, right? So if you could just imagine if this happened in 2015, the lack of leadership, right? So it's a beautiful thing that it exists there and that your community had somewhere to go and had someone to look to organize it.
Yeah.
So we are like pretty well out of time. I don't know if we have any questions from anyone, but this was wonderful, and I thank you guys so much for joining me. It means so much to so many people to be able to hear your perspectives. And yeah, a round of applause for you guys. I am so thankful to have you. Yeah. Do you want to take it from here, Rachel?
That was amazing. We don't have any questions in the chat, but a lot of really positive messages. I think everyone really loved being able to hear this panel today. So it was so great to have all you folks out. You are all such amazing leaders in the community and really great role models for any entrepreneur, just anyone who's out today. So thank you so much for coming out again. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
You guys too.